It's like, just calm down, folks. Just calm down. That was my infamous calm down speech from last year in the playoffs.
Oh, I knew. As soon as I was thinking about creating the intro, I had to think of funny moments. I have that one. I have the one from before we were recording and when we were at the studio at the station. And my headphones weren't working right, and they were really giving a lot of feedback. And you tried putting the headphones back on, and they were squeaking so loud, and you could hear it from my phone, and I was just cracking up. But the calm down speech is my favorite. We have to refer to that anytime that the Oilers go and they lose a game, because you said that during the playoffs last year. I believe that was
I think it was
against Vancouver, the Vancouver series.
Vancouver? Okay.
Yeah, because you guys fell down early, and you had said that everybody needed to calm down and go to A&W, and the Oilers went all the way, and we're one goal away from winning the cup. So I mean, we got to use that.
Yeah. So again, the intro and the new logo, Carson created those, so he did an amazing job. Well, we're back. Best Boy Center Ice Podcast 2025 Stanley Cup Playoffs.
Not as late tonight, which I'm happy about that.
I am too. It's like, it's still people thinking it's 11:20, but it's not as late.
We were on at 12:40 last night.
Yeah. So tonight, a couple of games again. There's going to be the rest of this series is going to be 2 games a night.
Yep.
And tonight we switched over to the Leafs and Panthers series, and then what just finished here just a little bit ago, the Stars and the Jets. Like to thank, of course, everybody for joining us and making comments during the day. And you'll be able to get this on, I'm hoping maybe on Sunday. You'll be able to get this one in the Saturday, tomorrow night's wrap-up show on our YouTube channel, Best Boy Center Ice Podcast YouTube. It'll be available on Facebook not long after we're done doing the live. And it's all thanks to the Refocused Radio Network. You can hear Rudy Campos Jr. and Sweep the League, and Shemaya Reed's I Am Refocused Radio, all on there, plus some more great content. I watched, I think yesterday, Rudy, it was Wednesday, because he has a special Wednesday show. You got to check that out, Sweep the League. Rudy does a great job with the other sports, and we handle the best sport ever, the NHL.
Yeah, tonight, everybody keep supporting that YouTube page. We need to keep getting people on there. We put all of our stuff on there. Obviously, after a certain point, when you get enough people subscribing, you can do live specials and stuff, but that's where we put everything. That's where all, from the very beginning of the show to now, is on YouTube. I think it's the only place besides Facebook if you scour through. If you
go to YouTube, just click the subscribe button
with our logo on it now.
Yeah,
we have our logo on the channel.
Put the logo on it. Best Boy Center Ice Podcast YouTube channel. Now, tonight was Game 3 between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Florida Panthers in Sunrise, Florida. Leafs were up 2-0. Desperate times for the Florida Panthers, and Carson will, of course. I love this because Carson will go deep into the stats here, but it started out not that great for Florida tonight.
Nope.
Nyes and Tavares get goals in the first period. 23 seconds in, Nyes gets his 5th, and Tavares about 6 minutes in. So they're already Florida down 2-0 at home. Barkov gets them back in it late. Not late, a couple of minutes after the Tavares goal.
About 7.5 minutes in.
And then Tavares gets his second of the night on the power play to start the second period at 2:52. And then here come the Stanley Cup champion, Florida Panthers, Reinhart, Verhaeghe, and
Gadjevich.
Let's see. Reinhart was at 4:13. Verhaeghe is 5:17. Gabadovich was at 15:07. All right, so now Florida's up 4-3, and then Morgan Riley ties it in the third period, a little bit more than midway through. So we go into overtime, and Carson and I always say Who do you think? And I usually give one from each team. And I
You've
think,
been doing really well at this.
yeah,
I think this you do pretty good at predicting. I think you did it. Um, you did it at some point during this season, I think, with Shaq Hyman scoring,
yeah,
and you were right. And I predicted Kachuk scoring because he hadn't been on the sheet yet, and I'm
yeah.
like, he's gonna get something. Well, I mean, he had an assist, but you know, getting a goal in overtime seems like such a Kachuk thing. But what's even better fitting than Kachuk scoring is Brad Marchand haunting the Toronto Maple Leafs, and
Yeah, again, because
the
he's got.
rat. They can
I
throw
think
all the rats they want on that ice now because the rat wins the game
I
for the
think he's
Panthers.
got 33 points against the Leafs in the playoffs,
Yeah, you know what?
something
This
like that.
game was a big game for Florida to win. So good kudos to them. You guys see the scoring summary
Mhm.
here. Toronto was up 2-0 real quickly in this game, and they had a 2-goal lead again in the second period. Um, I know it's not, it's a 2-1 series lead. They're leading 2-1, but this is a game that you don't want to let slip away, and they did. They had it. They had this game, and in a matter of a couple minutes, Florida tied the game. They took the lead later on. This could be a game that haunts the Leafs just because of their
Mhm.
history. And the Florida Panthers are a hungry team. They don't want to go home right now. They want to repeat back-to-back Stanley Cup championships. Uh,
Mhm.
and so big game for the Panthers, big game for Bob to stick in overtime and not give it up. Because that could have been 3-0 just as easily. But uh, you look here at the shot board. Uh, so Toronto finishes with 31 shots on the night. So Bob's 27 for 31. Um, all the goals except this one here. Morgan Riley's goal was by the dots, but the rest of them are right between
I
the
know
dots, and
there
then
were a
one right on the
lot.
goal mouth.
There was a
So
lot of like deflections in
we look
this.
at how close they are. I mean,
Yeah.
there's over a dozen shots just in this radius right here.
Mhm.
That's a lot of shots, and the Leafs made those count for sure. But then you go to the Panthers, and same kind of thing. Look at all these shots.
Mhm.
There's like 4 or 5 of them right on top of each other right here, and they get 2 goals in the same spot, and then 2 from the dots. Uh, or actually, no, you get 3 goals in this vicinity right here.
Mhm.
They're just covered up by each other. So it's showing me that the Leafs aren't being strong enough in front of the net, or at least tonight weren't strong enough in front of the net, preventing traffic right in front, preventing rebound opportunities, and that's going to happen. It's not. It's just how it goes. Florida's a tough team, but they got to clean that up a little bit. If you're a Leafs fan, you want them to probably pick that up a little bit. Um, I think you know I don't think there's a cause for concern on Toronto's side, but this is a game that I don't think you might regret that they let slip away, because if
Yeah.
Florida ties this series, they're in a very comfortable position going back to Toronto where they've won games before, big games that they know they can win there again. And
Yeah.
I mean, Toronto was up 3-0 last round. Then Ottawa won a big game at home and a big game in Toronto. Florida's just that good of a team that, I mean, they could win 4 in a row. And
Yeah.
Toronto's the same way. They've been a really good team, and they've surprised me. They've looked really good. They look different, but they got to prove that they're different now and get back on it. I think next game, even though they're leading the series, I think that's a must-win game for the Leafs, or at least a big game for them to win if they can, because I really just think Florida is going to be more comfortable in this situation of being tied
Mm.
2-2.
Yeah. Because if Toronto wins, of course, they're up 3-1 going home for Game 5. Game 4 in the series is going to be Sunday, 6:30 on 6:30 Central Time on Sunday. Now we go over to so again the Leafs lead the series 2-1. We go over to the late game that just ended a little bit ago, and um, as I texted you, Carson, I said, "Helly had a hell of a game
He
tonight.
did. He
He
played. He
needed
played a really good game.
Connor Hellebuck needed a Connor Hellebuck type game, because after the St. Louis series and after the first game of the Dallas series, um, he wasn't Hellebuck like. But tonight, you heard his name all the time in the positive from the announcers, and Hellebuck made
21.
21 saves tonight in a 4-0 shutout of the Dallas Stars.
Yep.
And it was just total domination by Winnipeg from the go.
Yeah, they really did. They did a good job clogging Dallas up, and
Yeah.
this is again going to be one of those series like the Washington Carolina series, where it's just going to be a gritty series. I think, like just tons of grinded out hockey and, low shot totals, but, good game for the Jets to get this one back and at least tie it up before they go back to Dallas.
Yeah, so Velarde got things going for Winnipeg in the first period with a power play goal at 3:35. Ellers got his first of the playoffs at 7:07, and then second period, Lowry gets his fourth at 11:02, and then an empty netter by Ellers at about 60. So they pulled the goaltender early. You're down 3-0.
Well, did you see Dallas pulled their goalie on the 4-on-4 with like 7 minutes left? Yep. They pulled Otter out. And I mean, it's, you know what? They got nothing to lose at that point. No. Just give it a try. And, Dallas has been on a heater. Mikko Rantanen back-to-back hat tricks, and they've played high-intensity hockey the last few days with, winning Game 7, how emotional of a ride that was, and going to Winnipeg, far travel from Dallas all the way up to Winnipeg within 2 days playing another game. I don't think if you're a Dallas fan, there's no cause to be concerned by this game. I mean, no. Winnipeg's a good team. This is going to be a long series. I think you're really happy you won one of those games there and go back home where you're comfortable. I imagine they're going to be going home tonight. You get a minor practice in tomorrow, get a good rest in, and be ready for the game. I think you're in a good spot if you're Dallas still. You're tied 1-1. You got what you needed. You got the game in Winnipeg. That arena, we know American Airlines Center is a hard arena to play in if you're a road team. And, it's going to be an interesting test for Winnipeg to see how they respond there. Obviously, traveling the other way, there's other factors that, could change things for them. I mean, things I think maybe that are looked over a little bit. Obviously, the weather is a big one here. They're going to be coming here, and it's going to be, in the 70s and 80s, and they're going to be playing playoff hockey. That's a difference. That's a big difference versus being in Winnipeg where it's, more frigid and hockey weather. It's not hockey weather here. Still, this is going to be a long series, like we mentioned. It's not going to be quick. I know Dallas didn't score any goals, but they had 21 shots spread across, not much in front of the net, really. There's only about 3 shots within a few feet. The most of them are kind of towards the point area behind the dots. So, again, that's just showing that Hellebuck's seeing these pucks right now, or tonight he was seeing these pucks, and he wasn't having to deal with much in front of the net as far as rebound control. And then look at Winnipeg's, all net front. You got 2 by the dots, 1 right on the crease, 1 within the dots. Winnipeg did a better job of clogging up the front of the net, which makes it hard for any NHL goalie to make saves. So the Stars got to make sure they're locking down defensively, but I don't think there's anything to be concerned about. I was expecting the series to be tied at 1 and going back to Dallas, and it sure is. Yep. And good on the Jets to get this game in front of their fans after losing Game 1. So we've got another good series here. This is going to be a 6 or 7 gamer. I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised. This could be another 7 gamer.
Yeah, and both of these goalies are amazing goalies. They both. I forgot to mention too. This is Ehlers empty netter, I think, right here. So this doesn't really count as because it was shooting the other side of the ice. But yeah, this is going to be a long series. It's going to be a good series. Both of these goaltenders are elite. We know that. That's going to be the difference is which goalie's better. This whole series, I think, is going to be the winner.
All right. So series tied 1-1 going into American Airlines Center in Dallas on Sunday. Tomorrow, a couple of games, doubleheader on TNT down here in the United States. I'm sure it's on be Hockey Night in Canada or Sportsnet up in Canada. The Washington Capitals in Carolina against the Hurricane. That series is tied at 1. That's going to be actually a 5:00 start Central Time.
That's pretty early for a Saturday night.
Really early for a Saturday night.
Might be conflicting with the NBA. Maybe there's games
probably
tomorrow
because it's TNT. So then you got Washington came back and they did what they had to do. They got back, and even though they gave up home ice with the first loss to the Hurricanes, they did what they had to do to win the other night. Now they got to do the same thing in Carolina. They got to win 1 in Carolina at least, and then come back home. And if not, then again, I've heard if Carolina gets on a heater the next couple of games and you're down 1-3,
that's not good.
That's not good. And then the nightcap, which is going to be an 8:00 start right after the Capitals Hurricanes, is going to be the Oilers at home to the Golden Knights in Game 3, with the Oilers leading that series 2-0. A lot of controversy. We didn't talk about the controversy last night when we did the wrap up. Let's just touch on it a little bit. There was no suspension for Roth.
McNabb hit, yeah.
There was no suspension for Roy for his cross check on Frederick of the Oilers. He did get fined, and then there was no penalty. This is what probably the big one was: no penalty call on that. And I'm going to say it was a trip. Like, it should have been called a penalty.
Absolutely,
now, the referees didn't see it, or maybe the back referee didn't. The referee off to the side didn't see it good.
I think it's because McNabb kind of looked like he was losing it a little bit, but he was regaining back. But I mean, I imagine you agree as a hockey fan that should have been called. Looking back at it, it definitely was a penalty that they missed, and I think especially in the circumstances that Vegas had just served a 5-minute major penalty, and then that happens and nothing gets called. Obviously, the outcome of the game maybe would have been different because McNabb, if that wouldn't have happened, he would have still been playing. Regardless, it's hockey, and Bruce Cassidy was upset after the game. He said that was a complete missed call, and it was. But that's the game. They were going to miss, and he literally said that. It's the game. They're going to miss sometimes. You got to keep going, and we didn't keep going, and we lost. That's just how it goes. And I imagine because of that, though, there's going to be some kind of retribution call tomorrow where they're just going to get the Oilers on something stiff because they missed that. And if they do, so be it. I mean, the Oilers are probably expecting it, but they definitely and I'm not even, because I know I tease you about like ragging on the Oilers and stuff, but they did miss that. I do think they did.
Oh, they did. Well, they totally.
It's part
the
of the
referees
game.
totally missed it, and the referees are human. Again, like there's in the NHL, there's 2 referees and 2 linesmen, where there used to only be 1 referee.
I can't imagine that.
And so you somehow or another the back referee didn't see it. Maybe he was on the wrong side of the ice, and the referee that was up behind the net, he maybe his view was obstructed. He didn't really see.
Yeah, and it would have been tons different if the Oilers wouldn't have scored right after that. Yeah. But they did. They scored literally a minute or 2 later, and had this been, had the game gone to double OT and been like 10 minutes into double OT, the Oilers won it. It wouldn't have mattered because but it's just the fact it happened right afterwards. Personally, Vegas is going to come out with an edge. I have Vegas winning tomorrow night just because of the fact they're down 2-0. They're going on the road now. They have to win tomorrow. You're going to get a desperate Vegas team that's going to be ready from the jump to jump down the Oilers' throats and take that game because they need to win. If they don't, I mean, that's going to be tough to come back from 3-0 down against a team that knows how to do that did it last year, that doesn't want that to be done to them. So I do have Vegas winning tomorrow, just for that simple fact that they can't afford to go down 3.
Yeah, I kind of have a feeling if Vegas is going to win, this is the game for them to win. I'm not saying it's going to be a giveaway game. It's going to be a close game, and it's on Vegas to take what happened because they outplayed the Oilers for the whole game and especially overtime. Really, when you look at the game as a whole, they had a little bit the better play of the 2 teams. It's just the Oilers had more opportunistic goal scoring. The overtime was totally dominated by Vegas. The Oilers had a 5-minute power play and they had shots. They had 8 or 9 shots on that power play and couldn't get a goal. And if you're an Oiler fan, you're maybe still a little concerned about the power play. It hasn't scored yet in the series, but it's hockey, and the Oilers came out with the win. They're up 2-0. They're going to be, like you said, Carson, they know that Vegas is going to come out, and they're going to be coming out hard. They got a chip on their shoulder after what happened in Game 2. The Oilers have got to be ready. They got to keep playing. They got to keep the defense going. The depth scoring has been great. I think there's a report. There was something out there. All 12 forwards of the Oilers that have played that are on the right now. All 12 forwards that are playing have got a goal for the Oilers, and that has not happened in I can't tell you how
long time. But I mean, just as capable as the Oilers are winning both games on the road, that Vegas can do the same thing. So the Oilers got to be ready. It's going to be a battle tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised if we see another overtime, honestly, in this series. But we'll see. I mean, I'm excited for that game. I'm excited for the other game too. Again, it's just more that two different series. I think the Capitals Hurricane series is more just a gritty hockey series where there's going to be very little scoring in that, versus where Edmonton Vegas there's a lot more offensive firepower. I think that allows there to be more scoring. Uh, you get the same thing in these two series tonight. Florida and Toronto. That's a higher scoring series in comparison to Winnipeg Dallas, which I think is going to be lower scoring because the goaltenders number one are just both top in the league, and defensively, I think both teams are pretty stingy with how they play. So it's just very different how you switch from one game to the other, where you got like an offensive shootout, and then the other one is just who's gonna be able just to stick it longer and just keep going,
grind it out.
Which is how it's going to be in June. Honestly, is that way. So the further along the playoffs go, for the most part, the lower the scoring gets because there's more stakes added to it, and you're defensively more structured. But that's what makes.
And you don't want to make that.
You don't want to be the one to make the mistake. That's right.
Yeah.
Like Jack Eichel. I mean, God, you tagged me in that photo today of him being the traffic cone, and it's I found it funny, but it sucks because he literally played so good last night until that one play.
He was the best player on the ice.
He made that one mistake. He had his feet in the wrong position. He just wasn't able to return.
And that just shows you that if you're you have to be against McDavid when he's coming down. And really, that was the first time all night that he got that.
He wasn't able to get in clean. He kept getting stopped at the line.
He kept getting stopped, but he got in clean. And if you get that speed, if you're not in the exact right position as a defender, he will get by you. And he made a very, very good hockey player. Eichel can skate too. He made a very good hockey player look very foolish, but
Vegas has figured out how to shut that whole entry of his down, which they got to keep doing that. But I mean, it only takes you to screw it up once for it to, McDry had nothing last night until that happened, and it's funny that goal happened, and you couldn't even tell it went in because of how the puck bounced when it hit the net, and
it went right to the back. Yeah,
but yeah, good games on tap tomorrow. Good games tonight as well. All these should be really long series. Again, kind of recapping what we have. There's only 4 series now. Washington, Carolina tied at 1, playing game 3 tomorrow. Florida and Toronto played game 3 tonight, which Florida won, so it cuts Toronto's lead down to 2-1 in the series. Dallas, Winnipeg played game 2 tonight, and Winnipeg comes back and beats Dallas, so the series is tied at 1, heading into Dallas for game 3 on Sunday. And then finally, the game we just talked about, the nightcap, with their OT win last night, Edmonton has a 2-0 lead against Vegas, with game 3 being tomorrow at 8 o'clock from Rogers Center. Isn't that correct?
Centers in Vancouver.
Rogers Place in Edmonton. So four really good series on tap. 2 really good games tomorrow. 2 good games tonight again. I'm excited to be on tomorrow. Number 1, be on earlier tomorrow. We won't be on at the crack. We won't, unless you know what. I'll be fine with an OT tomorrow because that means the game will probably be done like at 11 or 11:30, which I'm fine.
But it starts at 8, and there's unless the Capitals. But you know what? If the Capitals and Hurricanes even go into overtime, they would start.
They'll keep the Edmonton game will start, and they'll play that on a different channel.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to tomorrow night. Tomorrow night's games are going to be great. This whole playoffs has been just great.
I agree.
The 4-0 game might have been since the first couple of nights, kind of like the biggest, like, okay, well, this game's pretty much over in the third period type games, but just some great hockey, and there's still lots more left. We're switching over now to the games 3s and 4s in this second round. We're going to be on again tomorrow after the Oilers Knights game. Probably about 10:30, 11, somewhere around there.
I'd say 11 because even though the game's scheduled for 8, it's probably going to start at 8:20.
Yeah. So we'll be on after the Oilers and Knights, and you'll be able to catch this episode here a little bit later. We'll both share it again, and you'll be able to see it on Facebook. Yeah, and then you can catch it probably on our YouTube channel on Sunday. Once I go back and get everything set up back at work, and you can get all of the Best Boys 2025 Stanley Cup Playoff wrap-up shows there. You can follow along. I know, it's you can go back and see the progression of everything, and you can always message us, Facebook, TikTok, however you want to do it. And you can talk about what you think so far of the second round, if you've got a horse in the race in the second round, or who you're thinking is going to get out and be in the Eastern Conference Final and the Western Conference Finals. So we're going to be back again tomorrow night after the Oilers and Golden Knights game from Edmonton. So again, thanks to Carson for doing all the great work with the intro and all the new graphics and everything. It's looking great. It's looking like, you make us look like, well, you know what you're talking about. You make me look like I know what I'm talking about, because
you gotta make it pop a little bit. I'm glad I can.
Yeah.
And over time, I'll continue to kind of add little things or tweaks that I can see to make it better. But I like the product. It looks a bit better.
It looks a lot better. So thanks, Car. And in the meantime, and in between time, everybody have a great hockey night.
Butthead.
Hey, are you bowling tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Sounds good. Night.
Okay. Bye.